I wish I could tell myself when I sat in this chair to make my first video that taking the risk to sit down and press record was one of the most important decisions I'd ever make. That at the beginning, I'd take that same seat over and over and over again. I wish I could tell him that eventually I'd teach myself to edit with the videos I took in that chair, and that I would take those skills to the point that I would start a first, then a second YouTube channel. I wish he knew that for a while, I'd keep taking risks and trying to make every kind of video I could, until the day I realized that the thing I enjoyed making the most was a beautiful image. I wish I could tell him that when I figured that out, my greatest creative struggle would be continuing to take the same kind of risks I took when I started sitting in that chair to begin with. I wish I could tell him that when I graduate high school, I'd spend that first year of college wondering what's next in my life, and that eventually I'd resort back to the very thing I enjoyed the first time I sat in that chair, and that making the choice to commit to filmmaking would seal the trajectory of my career. I wish I could tell him that in college, I tried my hand at film photography for the first time, and that it would change the way I express myself creatively forever. And because of that medium, I've taken some of the best images I ever have. I'd love to tell him that the best thing shooting analog has taught me is to slow down and enjoy God's creation peacefully and intentionally. I wish I could tell him that during a world pandemic, I would leave college early and pursue work at the place where I'd eventually get to do one of my dream jobs, making videos for the church, and that eventually I'd lead a team of videographers as we make films that I'd never get the chance to make anywhere else. I wish I could tell him that doing this job, I've had the opportunity to make projects that I am the proudest of in my career thus far. I wish I could tell him that at the end of high school, I'd meet the girl that would be the love of my life, who I'd eventually marry. And I wish I could tell him how incredibly excited we are to meet our son in June. I wish I could tell him that I don't create anything alone, and that everything I make now not only had a team of people behind it helping and encouraging me, but also is made because my creator allows, inspires, and uses me to create. And I'm trying to be better at reminding myself of that every single day. I wish I could tell him that I feel like I have just as much to learn about my craft now as I did when I sat in that chair for the first time. And I wish I could tell him that I have now spent over double the number of years creating things outside of that chair than I ever did sitting in it. I wish I could tell him that eventually the time would come for me to get rid of the chair, and that when I did, I'd realize my journey never had anything to do with the chair at all.